So you just move the clear tags around anywhere, they're going to look good. Finally, a better way to create tags. Usually I jump straight into my tutorials, but today I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be a little bit more casual and explain what it is that I'm going to be doing before I jump in and show you how you can use these clear tag templates. Since the beginning of civilization, we've used tags in our craft. So why are some people's tags just so much nicer than others? When I first started making my tags, they were pretty dodgy. I had to measure each tag, like I'd get out my ruler and then I'd cut off my corners, and they were never the same. They looked, like I said, they looked pretty dodgy. Now, I also released these early to my membership group and they love them. I couldn't be happier with the feedback that I've got from these. What I'm going to do today is I'm offering these out for an early bird price. Right, now the tags come in a set of 4. You've got the large size here, which is just your standard size, tag. Then we've got the next size down, and then we've got the tiny little one. And you pick that up and you go, well, it's not going to fit on that cardstock there, so I know that one is. So you've got to decide whether or not to go and grab a bigger piece of cardboard or change your tag size. So they're really good. Before you even start making things, you can decide what you're going to do and where you're going to put it. So you just move the clear tags around anywhere, they're going to look good. Once you've figured out where you want to put them, you then just place it, and then you either can do 2 things. There's 2 ways you can cut these out. You can use the edge like a ruler and get your craft knife and cut all the way around. What you see is what you get. That's going to be your tag. Or you can get a pencil and trace around the edge of that template and then come in with your scissors and cut them out by hand. So they're pretty easy to use. So now I've told you a bit about the templates. Let's go have a look at how they work in real life and make some tags. When you first get your tags, they come with this protective coating. You just need to peel this off both sides. Once you've peeled it off, you're left with your clear acrylic tags. Now I'm going to show you how easy they are to use. So I'll do my demo on the larger size. A really good way to make tags is to use recycled manila folders. If you love this color, these make absolutely brilliant tag bases. If you don't have any of those, say you're in a country where you can't get those type of folders, you can buy A4 or letter size cardstock, and I'd get about 200 to 300 GSM, something a little heavier, that's going to hold a good decoration. And this color comes in a few variations, so you can get the closest thing to, you know, a cream or the manila color you can get. This is where you're gonna love these templates. Not only do they act as a ruler, but you can actually see what your tag's gonna look like before you cut it out. What you gotta think about when you're cutting out is, are you gonna put a hole here and a hole and cover it with a hole reinforcement? So if you're going to do that, you wouldn't put that here because you're going to cover up your text here. So you'd move it up here like this. You can work out whether or not you want these lines in the middle or whether you want all of them in there and you put it off to the side. Now I think that looks pretty cool like that. And if I put a hole reinforcer here, it's not going to get in the road of my text. So what I can do is I can cut this out two ways. I've got this directly onto my cardstock. I use the Scotch retractable craft knife and it's on the edge of the cardboard up here. I can now just go ahead using the side of my template as a ruler and I can cut down. I'm holding firmly with my left hand, my thumb spread out wide and my fingers here just to hold it nice and still, and I'm taking my time, I'm not rushing. And I'm just going to cut that across here like that. And that should release. If it doesn't, just give it another cut just to make sure it releases. Don't try and pull that off or you'll get a torn corner. Then I'm going to just maneuver my hand out of the road, this hand here, and I'm just going to cut past the corner, up a bit higher, and cut down. I'm taking my time with my right hand and holding very firmly with my left hand until I come back down to the bottom of that corner. Then I'm going to come around and just cut that off there. And I've got a pretty good looking tag. Now what I can do here is I can use that for the back of and make it a journaling card and decorate the front. So I can come back and I can cut this whole sheet out, put them away in my stash for later on, and when I'm making a journal I can come back and decorate this however I like. The next way you can cut this out is we can put the edge of the template on the edge of the cardboard here. Once that's in place, just trace around it with a pencil. I'm just going to get my fussy cut scissors. You can use a full size pair of scissors, whatever works for you. I'm just going to then rub away my pencil lines. It works both ways, whether you cut them out with a pair of scissors or with your craft knife. Now I've got a piece of 12 by 12 here that had a plain print in the background. I just went and randomly stamped all over the whole sheet just so that I could get to use this. On the back side, I done some stenciling, put that there. I can make sure I've got the number 4 in it and I can sort of move it around until I've got it where I like it. Just say I want to put the whole word currently in there. It only just fits. Now, I'm going to show you a third way for cutting out. This is because if you don't want to waste any of your paper here, I'm going to put this on here and I'm going to cut a line straight down. Place my tag across the bottom and across the side here. And that's given it a nice clean cut with a stenciled back. And the stencil on the back just turns out random. I made some mixed media backgrounds and these are only on small pieces, but really they would make ideal tags. This not so much, but if I wanted to use this at the top bit, say if I cut this off here, so if I cut that off there and I wanted to make this a journaling card, I could definitely turn that into a tag at the bottom and I'd have a matching set. So I've got a journaling card and a tag at the bottom. So that is something that could be done here. That is going to fit on there and I think I'll cut it out this way. If you wanted to use these templates and cut straight around the edge, using your scissors, you could do that. It's not as easy. I'm going to lift this up and show you. It's not as easy to cut these long straight bits, but it can be done if you want to cut across your edges like this, across these diagonals. So you can use this on the short cuts, and on the smaller tags here, you could use your scissors directly on the edge. So there we've got another tag. Another thing that I'll talk about now is I haven't marked the holes on these templates. And the reason for that is if you wanted to use a vintage style reinforcement cover like this, it's going to come down in a different location to a center hole that I might mark up here that you would want to use a normal round hole for. So they're just going to land in a different place. And say you just want to punch a small hole and have no reinforcement, it's going to be in a different place as well. Or you might not want one at all. So that's why I haven't put a hole mark there on these. If you think that covers up too much, you put something smaller. But that is how quick and easy it is to make a tag with the traceable templates. Now here's a couple of ideas using the recycled manila folders. I've just put a stamp on the bottom, and that is the colour sepia. Just stamp some plain lines down here like that, and then gone back to the sepia and put one across the top. That is a very simple tag, but it looks quite impressive. And again, I've used the vintage style hole reinforcement. And this one here, you can do this before you cut your tag out or after. Get a piece of your manila folder and put it in your typewriter and type out a little quote. You can then cover that little quote up with some washi tape, as long as you can see the typewriter quote through your washi tape. So pick something that you're going to be able to see through. Put a little word sticker or note here, and then grab a bit of washi tape and stick down a lovely little rose. I think that also is a very simple tag to make. So you don't have to embellish the heck out of your tags if you like the minimalist look. Here's another minimalist look with individual stamp letters. Just open me and put a bow on it, and this is just craft cardstock. And I've just used the same cardstock to make the hole reinforcements. And this is how I make my hole reinforcements, the same as my cardstock. I just use the smaller hole first, punch it into my cardstock, get a 15mm circle punch, turn it upside down, center that over the smaller hole, and then punch that out. And that gives you a really simple hole reinforcement that matches your cardstock. Another way of making basic backgrounds for your tags is I've used the recycled manila paper again, and I've used the Tim Holtz tea dye and vintage photo and watercoloured them. I'll show you how I do achieve this colour in another video. This one here is done on watercolour paper, and I've also used a pink colour along with the tea dye and the vintage photo. So they make fabulous background tags. So you're going from this to this. Now another idea is to just cut your card out using a coloured cardstock and then glue a mat over the top. What I've done for this one is I've used the 𝗚𝗏𝗃𝗃 wallpaper and I've cut a mat and I've cut a heart in the mat and just then glued that over the top of my original tag. That is another minimalist look. Now, if you like that, you just put a ribbon or a tie on it and leave it like that. If you want to embellish it more, you go ahead and embellish it more. That's one way of using the mat. When you buy a set of the templates, you'll also get a PDF set of the mats. So you'll get, in the biggest size, you'll get a plain mat and you'll get one with the heart on it. So you can use the heart like this one here, or you can just use the heart to make a separate embellishment. And I'll show you what I mean. I've just used the heart and put that right here on my piece of cardstock. I've cut out the heart and then I've turned that into a little embellishment. I've made my own hole reinforcer, cut a hole in it and stuck that in the corner with a little bit of torn cardstock, a little bit of sari silk and stitched it over the edge. So you could glue this to that and make this the top part of your tag. But I'm sure there are many ways that you could add this to your tag. Now, to keep the heart theme going, there's my background of the plain tag. I've also used the template to cut a heart, but this time I used the old style tape measure, and I put strips of the tape measure together. I glued them together and then I put the template over the top of the tape measure and then cut it out. You could do it with paper. So you just glue it down in strips like that and then put that over the top. I think how the orientation of it is up to you, and then you just trace your heart and you've got yourself a little embellishment there like that. This one here, I've just put an embellishment and hung that off the side over the top and put a little brad in the top here instead of a normal tab. So I think that's going to look pretty cute hanging out of a pocket or a tuck spot. I've got more ideas for the heart. This here was the leftover piece of this. So I thought, I can't waste that. That looks pretty cool. So I glued that down, used a piece of the tape as my tab, put an eyelet there, and then just made a tiny little tag set hanging off the corner. So again, that is a very plain set, but once that's set in a pocket, I could use the bottom for journaling on or putting a quote on. It doesn't need much more. I think that would look pretty cool hanging out of a pocket or a tuck spot. This one here, I had a stamp tag and I couldn't believe it. It fit this tag perfectly. It wasn't played for. It just happened that way. I actually stamped the tag first and then went and put this on it. And I was like, oh, that worked out so brilliantly. So check your stamps because you may very well have something that fits these tags. And just put the little hole reinforcer on it. When you buy a set of these clear tags, for the first 20 people, I'm giving out a sample set of these little vintage style hole reinforcements. So you'll notice that this one is a bit smaller than this one because these big ones wouldn't look as good on these smaller tags. So there's a couple of sizes in that sample pack. If you haven't got a stamp to stamp your little tags, just get a black tip pen and just draw around the edge. So I just copied what I could see here on this one, and I just drew the lines around the edge and then put the dots in the center, and then put one of Tracy Fox's little tiny labels on the front with an autumn leaf and a little flower. And that has made the sweetest little tag, and that is the recycled manila folder. You can do so much with this type of cardstock. Instead of using the mat like I did on this one, this time I've done it in reverse. So I'm just going to use the smallest tag template now, and I'm going to place it exactly where I want these flowers showing up. Now I've cut my tag out. I'm then going to just glue that on top of here with my border around it. So it's going to be a tiny little bit bigger than its actual size now. Now, of course, if you wanted to colour your edges, you would do that before you go ahead and make this up. So then you would just cut around the edge. Just follow the edge line. So that's just how you would add your background in reverse. If you've got a 12 by 12 sheet of this craft cardstock, there are so many variations you can do to use it up. Like this one here it's not even, nothing's glued on it. There's nothing stamped on it. There's no colour added to it whatsoever. All I've done is added a little bit of dyed silk. I've made a video of this. If you want to see how to make these, I'll attach this in the description below. So I've just got that out. So any embellishments that you've got in your stash, just get them out and add them to a plain tag. And again, that's just like a stocking stuffer, but we'll call it a pocket or a tuck spot stuffer. So that's in the craft tag. This one here, when I went to do the numbers on these little tags, I cut my tag out first and then went to stamp the numbers. They're individual numbers and they were way too far over to the right. So the best way to do these is to stamp on your cardstock first and then come back in and put your tag template over the top and work out where you want it. So all I've done then is I've folded over a piece of the same cardstock to form a tab, thread through a piece of lace, like it's not glued in at the moment. I've just done that so you could see it. And I've just thread that through to form a little bow in the background and glued a fussy cut butterfly on top. And then using the same cardstock again, put this in my typewriter, type the word butterfly and glued that on top. That is another simple way to make a tag. You don't have to use a whole reinforcement on the top of your tags either. Just mix it up a little bit. This one here is also the craft cardstock, and I've put a pin. I've put one of the bulb safety pins in the top here, and that can hang or not. It can be just there for decoration. Just because it's got a pin in it doesn't mean to say you have to use it. And I've just put a piece of a sari silk around it with some twine around it. And this little piece here is the same as this one of those little envelopes. And you can use them for journaling cards or you can just use them for embellishment. And I didn't glue the front part down, only the back. So then I can tuck that down, and you can, especially if you use an Edith Holden page, you can see the beautiful handwriting that she has in her books, and that can be a very nice little tag. It doesn't have to be overdone. So the craft tags, they just stand out. They just look so nice. You can use the template to cut out several tags and make yourself a little tag book as well. These are just made with tabs glued between each page. I won't be showing you how to make this in this video, but there will be another video on how I put this one together. Here's another one using the recycled manila folder. I've used a little bit of the snippet roll done in paper, and this was made by my Australian friend Deb, who lives down the road from me. And I can tell you, when you get something like this, it's very hard to cut pieces off it, because, you know, like I could leave that just sitting there and look at it for, you know, hours and hours. But anyway, I just put a snippet of that across the front of the tag, put an eyelet hole in it instead of a hole reinforcement, hung a little tag off that with just an O-ring and one of the Tim Holtz little metal labels, and that can go in a tuck spot as well. So if you've got your snippet rolls, they are great to use on your tags as well for embellishment. And this idea is from another Australian friend of mine who's on Facebook and posts some beautiful makes on a daily basis. And her name is 𝗬𝗓𝗃𝗃𝗃. So all it is a tag folded in half, then you add a second hole in the back, then glue across the bottom. I did not even glue up the side here. I just put a bow through, I just put a bit of the silk ribbon or whatever you got through that hole and tied that up together, and that has given me the pocket. So it's still free there, and that helps you get stuff inside it. It makes it so much easier. And I just stuck my 4 different size tags in that pocket. Put a very simple embellishment on the front. I got the same cardstock that I used to make the tag and put that in the typewriter, and whatever is on the photo or the image that you put on the front, you just word that across that with your typewriter or your computer, or cut out some words from your book and just frame that with those words. And that is the sweetest little tag pocket. Thanks for that idea, Leslie. I absolutely love it. No tutorial would be complete without using a recycled piece of cardstock. This piece is perfect. I'd say, what did I get in this? My ruler. I got my Tim Holtz ruler in this a couple of years ago, and I've kept it. So now I think I could either put it right off to the side. So I'm planning my cuts so that I don't cut into that area there. And I'm just going to move that out of the road and cut this like this. And I've got myself a tag out of the Tim Holtz packaging. Oh, what a shame I didn't look at that. I could have actually put that over the back and put that on there and made good use of that, but I didn't think far enough ahead. Now I can use these offcuts to make hole reinforcements for these tags. You know what? I don't think any demonstration would be the same unless we made an Edith Holden tag. So now Edith Holden paper is a real challenge because we can never ever tell or decide which piece to cut into. So if you wanted that piece there, you've got to sacrifice the other side. Popping that on there, I'm going to leave a little bit of space for my hole reinforcement. And I'm going to try very hard not to overcut so I don't ruin any of this other bit of book page here. So I'm going to get more of that flower in there and straighten that up to there and that up to there. And I'm pretty happy that I can go ahead now and cut this. So I'm actually going to be left with a window in this piece of paper. Now, of course, that can be backed onto another tag, or it can be just left like that and have both sides showing. It can even be backed with another Edith Holden tag on the reverse. Alrighty, get your scrapbook paper out and start working out which size tag you want where. Now pop on over and check out my other video. That's part 1 of this video. If you want to be in the draw to win a set of these 4 tags, the giveaway is only going to the 30th of September. So if you want to be in the draw, go and watch that video and get yourself a set of these tags while you're there. I've had such a blast designing these tags. Thanks for supporting my channel. I really look forward to sending these tags out. Bye for now.